What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this I'm going to be talking about the one and only NIO stock and what you should be looking out for the future. I'm also going to break down what's going on with the overall market with stocks like Tesla, with the QQQ and SPY, and break down how all of them may affect NIO, and also what the news is saying about NIO with big earnings coming out very, very soon. But before I break anything down about NIO, before I give you guys my price prediction for tomorrow, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Make sure you take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire NIO community as a whole. And the last things, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and in the description. This offer was supposed to end yesterday, but it has been extended for another 6 days by Webull. And basically how it works is if you sign with my link down below or in the description, you're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each worth up to $3,000, and any could be a free NIO share. It's a limited time offer. This offer ends in just 6 days, so check it out before they run out. This is the last time they're going to be extending it. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. NIO is down 3.66% for the day as of right now, and the real question is, how will NIO actually move going forward? Well, seeing the fact that NIO gapped up like this and started pushing up, unfortunately, we got this rejection of $10, and we were actually hit with some news that many investors did not like about NIO, and as a result, NIO did end up retesting this gap support right here, and it's actually looking weaker and weaker as the day goes on. Now, tomorrow, where NIO opens and how NIO performs is going to be impacted by tech stocks, also earnings coming out very, very soon. I'm going to break down the earnings for you guys to talk about why this is going to be very impactful. Now, some big banks reported earnings. Today, the earnings were pretty mixed from like Bank of America and the others, but we also had Netflix, which just reported earnings a couple of minutes ago. Earnings per share was actually a beat. Revenue was a beat for revenue was as expected basically for Netflix. So far we did see Netflix actually pull back a bit, but now it's actually trying to recover. And overall, this will actually impact the markets, at least perception of tech going forward. But overall, I also want to note that for tomorrow, we have some very important mortgage data and also crude oil data. That's very important with the Fed speaker near the end of the day tomorrow. I think 2 hours before the market closes, he's coming. Beige Book, I think is what their name is. And once again, this is going to be very, very important. Now, on top of this, I want to note that for Wednesday, we have ASML, we have Tesla, Morgan Stanley, and IBM all reporting earnings. The biggest one for NIO, affecting NIO, is going to be Tesla. If Tesla does well and Tesla takes off, Tesla could start to rocket, and this could actually improve some performances for many consumer discretionaries out there. This could actually improve sentiment for EVs, and that would actually make things better for NIO. But if Tesla misses on earnings and Tesla starts tanking very hard, you have to remember that Tesla is not a small company. It's a giant, and it does actually have quite a bit of weight for the S&P 500 and also for the Nasdaq. If Tesla starts tanking very hard, this could cause the market to slow down after the market closes on Wednesday going into Thursday. And if that's the case, if the whole market starts to pull back a bit, and because it could actually have these very big ripple effects, of course, but if that's the case, right, NIO is going to get dragged down too, or at least the odds of that happening will increase if we start to see SPY and QQQ and Tesla cool off. So make sure you're ready for earnings tomorrow. Super huge day. NIO also just said very recently, they actually reiterated this, and that's the fact that they don't plan on joining a price war and slash prices like the way Tesla has been doing. NIO is saying that they want to maintain some very strong margins and they're not going to be participating in the price war. This has very different views. The first view is the fact that there is a chance that NIO has very high demand and demand will not be as affected by what has been going on with the whole recessionary environment and the slowdown in demand for EVs in general. Now, if that's the case, NIO could be completely fine, but in order for them to spur up demand, like how Tesla has been doing to actually break their records in China, Tesla has been cutting prices over and over again. So that gives Tesla a bit of an edge over many other competitors if they keep cutting prices, because it does incentivize more buyers to step in, but we don't truly know how it's going to affect their earnings, and we will find out tomorrow. Now, NIO does not want to cut prices. This means demand might not be as high for them, but at the same time, there's no guarantee of that, but we'll have to wait and see how their numbers come out to be in the next couple of weeks. But other than that, we'll just have to see how this ends up affecting their earnings. Does NIO actually see a bigger decline, or is NIO managed to hold up? And I really believe that the CEO and NIO's financial team does not want to risk cutting their margins too much. Right? That's their main goal. They want to keep things very, very nice and consistent. And for that reason, we have to be very patient to see how this affects their data. But right now, investors did not like this. I think many investors would have preferred if NIO cut prices a bit. But so far, that's part of why NIO is down. But it's also because of, excuse me, sorry guys, the price action from yesterday, where NIO did gap up and now it's coming down to fill the gap. Volume was 25 million. Overall, pretty flat volume. Price price ratio is about the same, at least right over here. And so far, I mean, it is actually technically underperforming compared to the market because SPY and QQQ closed kind of green today, barely in the green, and NIO closed kind of red. NIO also has a tendency of actually not doing as well during earnings. You can see right here it's been on a bit of a decline. So that's one of the main reasons why they don't want to cut their prices, but we will see if that works out to their benefit. NIO is green only 56% of the time, which is actually pretty decent for Wednesdays. It tends to be their best day of the week, but big earnings will affect that. We saw lastly about 4 million NIO shares shorted a couple of days ago. What does this all mean for the share price? Well, we have a potentially bearish structure being developed. NIO is making lower highs and lower lows, retesting this gap support around 9.5 area. We actually closed just below it, which is a very bearish sign. Tomorrow, NIO will open depending on how earnings look, whether we gap up or not. And then I do expect NIO to most likely continue to come down to fill the gap, coming to the low nines. Unfortunately, that's what this trend is telling us. We have a crossover in the MECD, and we're seeing the strength of the stock overall just continuing to decline. For Tesla, what I was hoping for yesterday was Tesla just, pulling back a bit, remaining tight, and maybe trying to get a rebound. We got a small rebound here, but it ended up just failing. And since then, Tesla's looking weaker and weaker. Now, there's a good chance that Tesla will just trade sideways, maybe slow down a little bit going into tomorrow. We're looking pretty much a little bit more bearish than before. We did not get the break to the upside we were hoping for. And now that that's actually happening, I want to note that tomorrow is not solely going to be based off technicals. Yes, we might see Tesla just trade sideways, maybe cool off, not really do too much. Could it try to pump near the end of the day? It's still a possibility, but I'm not really worried about that at this point. What's going to matter is earnings, all right? It doesn't matter where Tesla closes, whether it's in the 180s, maybe it gets closer to 190. It does not matter tomorrow. What matters is what does Tesla do for earnings after the market closes? If they give us some very strong earnings and guidance is good and margins are not too impacted by the price cuts or as much as analysts are expecting, this thing could soar up, try to get back to the 200s if it's very good. All right, that's what Tesla can most likely do, and that would actually help the market pump more. But if earnings are not good and Tesla does not perform well, if they miss on EPS or something, or if that's not the case, but if everything's okay, but then guidance is not too good, this thing could come crashing down to 180, all the way down to the 170s to fill this gap. I think it has an unfilled gap in the mid 170s still. It's going to fill the gap down below if it fails during earnings. If that's the case, that's going to negatively affect SPY and QQQ. It's best to be prepared for anything. And until then, I will let you guys know how tomorrow goes. SPY had a crazy day. It did exactly what I predicted. We basically had this pullback in the morning, right? We came all the way down to the 412s. Then we got a nice bounce off 412 and we closed just above 414. So it came down, got a nice bounce, similar to what I was predicting. And we did close green just barely. Tomorrow, it's going to depend heavily on earnings. We have big earnings. That's why I'm just more indecisive. ASML, Morgan Stanley, and many of the banks, NASDAQ, Ally Bank, all giving us their big earnings. That's going to affect how SPY moves. If we have a strong earnings from the banks, we could actually see the market hold up nicely. If they do pretty bad, we're going to start slowing down. And then Tesla and IBM will be taking the stage after that. The last thing I want to mention before I talk about the QQQ and NIO is going to be the VIX. The VIX is very, very oversold. It is just tanking and tanking. And we're going to be looking for a bottom soon. It's very oversold. It's at the lowest level we've seen since, I believe, the very beginning of 2022. And one of the lowest values we've seen since like the 2021 areas, right? We're getting close to 2021 levels. It's super undervalued. It's going to break out soon. It's just a matter of time. We've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red weeks in a row for the VIX. I mean, there were many times where we actually had more, but the VIX is at extreme levels. This tells me that over the next few weeks, this thing is likely going to just start popping up quite nicely. And the odds do heavily favor that. Now, I also want to note that the VIX has a bullish divergence. The price is going lower. Excuse me, sorry guys. The price is going lower, but the RSI is actually getting higher and higher and higher. That is telling me that the VIX is likely going to bounce soon. Give it a couple of weeks. I just don't know the exact timing. Eventually, there's going to be a big bounce on the VIX. That's going to happen because of the market coming down. Is there a sign of the market tanking? Not yet, but it's likely going to come in the future. QQQ did the same thing as SPY. I told you guys we'd like to see a pullback and then a nice bounce. It pulled back, but then it bounced and turned green. It barely closed green by close. Where did this thing go? We actually dropped all the way down. We actually dropped to a low in like the 317s. Then we got a bounce and we actually closed barely in the green. It just consolidated for the majority of the day. This is going to be impacted by the big earnings coming out. It might just remain tight for a while, but if Tesla does start to outperform the market, if Tesla does very well during earnings, uh, alongside IBM and other companies, there's a chance we might see the QQQ try to hold up and maybe retest 320. If Tesla fails on us, this thing is going to come tanking. It's going to start downtrending more. And if that's the case, this is going to affect NIO. So make sure you are ready for this. But once again, for NIO, the bullish case would be a retest of 9.7 to 10. The bearish case would be us coming down to fill the gap and then coming to the low 9s, maybe retesting 9. What do I think is going to happen? Well, if you look at this chart carefully, it looks very bearish. Crossover on the PPO here, RSI is declining. Be prepared for anything because there's a bullish and bearish case, but the odds are favoring us filling this gap, coming down the lower 9s very, very soon. I do see that happening most likely tomorrow. I know it's unfortunate, but that is what I'm seeing. All right, so thank you all for listening. It's best for me to just be honest, and it is what it is. We'll just go through this day by day. And until then, like I said, I will see you guys in the next video. The last thing I want to note before ending it, though, is my shop that's down below, either above or below the comment section. You could get some custom merch by me or buy some shirts that say Eat, Sleep, Trade, Repeat. We have options to the moon, some hoodies, stickers, whatever you guys want. They are down below in the comment section or above it. All right, so thank you. Have a great day, guys. I appreciate every one of you. And please note that this is all just optional. It really is your choice if you want to buy something or not to help support the channel. I would just appreciate it. And thank you. NIO to the moon. The long term is very bright. And peace out.